at the national level is to be the engineering hub for homegrown technology and industrialization in Nigeria. Housing is a key component of this vision. At the branch level, we have 4 strategic initiatives. Housing cuts across every one of them. I will not bore you at this symposium with those initiatives, but suffice it to say that housing is central to the majority of them. Before I hand over the floor to the panelists, I would like us to quickly take a look at a brain dump that me and my ESCO did prior to this event. It is by no means exhaustive, but it does contain some of the nuggets that we're hoping will be explained further during this event. First and foremost, we'd like to talk briefly about R&D. At the branch level, we believe that there are a lot of opportunities for the optimization of materials, locally available materials, wherever you're building a house or a home. We must leverage materials that are locally available within the vicinity. We must try our level best to optimize on the use of cement and aggregates. We must also, in conjunction with the architects, engineers and architects, and all other professionals in the industry, ensure that our designs are tropical in nature, because we live in the tropics. We must learn from our traditional forms. We must learn from the lessons back in the day before the Europeans came and brought their designs. Those designs were very friendly, they were sustainable to a large extent. Of course, they need improvement. That is why we need R&D to make them better, but we cannot jettison them. We must learn from them. Government policies, obviously, is central to the success of any program such as this one, and the provision of affordable housing, obviously. There's room for us to ensure that only locally fabricated doors, windows, roofing systems, etc. are encouraged. We must place high tariffs on foreign products so that we can encourage the homegrown ones. In addition, it is important that we create an enabling environment for private sector involvement in the provision of housing. Land acquisition and ownership is something hopefully we're going to be hearing a lot about today. We must do a better job of gathering data. Without the proper amount and quality of data, we're not going to go anywhere with the planning, towards achieving housing for all. I heard on the news yesterday, I think the Honorable Minister for Works and Housing, we're still hoping that he'll join us here. He was actually talking about the unreliable nature of some of the data that we have. And that was very instructive for me in particular. And we'll probably talk about that as we go along. Mortgage banks, we want to see single-digit interest and how long these mortgages will be. Otherwise, we're not going to be successful. And we've also seen a lot of improvement in this area with the current administration. And I'm hoping that we will talk about those as we go along. Cost estimate for houses and housing projects. We want it to be very transparent so that we're sure that the government is not being ripped off. Some of the prices, the costs that we hear, even in the north for houses in Nigeria, are ridiculous. And we think that we should take a second look at them, involve the professionals, and let these estimates be transparent. Appropriate codes and standards, this is where we come in, engineers. We must work on this to ensure that our codes and standards are robust and incorporate all of the current trends, our tropical nature, and IT systems and fire systems and all that. The codes need to be made more robust. And I'm sure that currently, our current leadership of the Nigerian Society of Engineers is very, very seriously working on this. And of course, cooperative societies. These need to be encouraged and promoted so that we can have more of these mass housing schemes coming up every day. Like I said, this was going to be brief, and I would like to hand over to the moderator, but remark that the president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers is online. We must yield the floor to him for a minute, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Haudu, FNSC. The President, Engineer Babagana Mohammed. I want to crave your indulgence if you want to speak now. While we wait on the President to speak, I would like us to proceed on what we have on our agenda, pending the time he's able to come online to speak, because presently I think its voice is not activated. To proceed on these is going to be the synopsis and the introduction of panel discussants. That will be taken by the SOS chairman. Her name is Engineer Unida Unibogi. Madam, you can go ahead, ma'am. Hello, ma, you can unmute yourself. Hello, Engineer Unida. Ma, hello? Sir. Yeah.
Okay, let's try to proceed. Okay.
No, I think she's online now. I think it was her mic or something. Okay. So she can unmute, yeah. Okay. She can unmute yourself now and speak. Engineer Idama, you can go ahead, please.
Shagun, you can proceed on her behalf. Okay. And then when she comes online, she can take over from you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So to go ahead, for this symposium on affordable housing, problems and panacea. We know definitely that housing is one of the key things that is desired by every individual, not just in our country, but everywhere in the world. But we want to look at the sphere of our own nation. What do we have? To proceed on these, we have few discussants that's going to be giving us in-depth from the leadership perspective and from all other stakeholders' perspective of what housing is like in Nigeria. To do that is the Honorable Minister of Power Works and Housing, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Babatunde Raji Fashola. I'm sure he's going to be joining us as we go ahead on this. And after that, we also have the Commissioner for Housing, Lagos State, Honorable Moruf Akinde Rufatai. He was a member of the House of Rep between 2007 and 2015. Honorable Akinde is a member of Chartered Institute of Management and an associate member of Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators in Nigeria. I'm very sure he's online and he's going to come on board and speak. Honorable sir, you want to say something?
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to
Good morning, sir.
To be here. I want to say the picture that you are having on board is the new Oniru elect.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Also, we have Honorable Idris Okonla Salako. He is the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Lagos State. He is the Managing Director of Crawford Senior and Technical Director at Infrastructure Multi-Project Partners Limited. Let's welcome Honorable Idris Okola Salako. I'm not sure he's online, but definitely he's going to join us. Also, to be part of the discussant is Mrs. Adetoke Benson Awoyinka. She is the special advisor to the Lagos State Government on housing. She is a legal practitioner grounded in different areas of the law, ranging from insurance law, including underwriting, policies, risk, claims, and management. And she also possesses expertise in litigation, probate, and land matters. To continue on this, we're going to welcome the engineer. We're going to welcome Engineer Onida Onigbogi. Engineer Onida, please.
Thank you, Shagun. Engineer Shagun. Let's move on to the next discussant, please. Next, we have Engineer Aramide Adeyoye. She is the Special Advisor to Lagos State Governor on Works and Infrastructure. She is a trained civil engineer, a trailblazer, and she was with Julius Berger for years and rose to the post of a project coordinator and management staff in the company's region of the West Division of Operations. You're welcome, madam.
Not sure she's present yet, so maybe we can go ahead.
Okay. We look forward to her joining us later. Next, we have Mr. Shuaib Olabode Agoro. He worked in the Lands Bureau as a director, land services, between 2003 and 2005, and also as director for the land regularization between 2006 and 2015. You're welcome, sir.
I can't see he's also not presently in. So as soon as they come on board, we will definitely recognize them.
Absolutely. We look forward to him joining us during the session. Our next key panelist is Engineer Mrs. Abiola Koshegbe. She is currently the GM, General Manager for the Lagos Building Control Agency. She is a seasoned engineer with vast experience, development and implementation of the waste management sector policy for LOMA, and she's also the chairman of the NICE Lagos chapter. You're welcome, madam.
Thank you.
And our next panelist is architect Fitzgerald Umar. He is the chairman, Nigerian Institute of Architects, the Lagos chapter, and also a chartered member of the Royal Institute of British Architects and an international associate member of American Institute of Architects. He is the principal of Contemporary Architecture Limited that has overseen several design and construction projects in Nigeria. You're welcome, sir.
He's online, so I guess maybe some. Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Our next panelist from renowned academia is Professor Timothy Gbenga Nubi. He is a Google Scholar and currently the Director, School of Foundation Studies. and also a member of the REDAN Board of Trustees. He has more than 50 papers on various issues on housing and urban development. He is the immediate past dean of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences at the university. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And moving on.
Engineer, that's all we have.
Thank you. Thank you, Engineer Shegun. So with our panelists, we are well geared for a very interactive and interesting session.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you very much, Engineer Onyide Onigbogi. We're going to have our keynote address. And definitely this is going to come from the Commissioner for Housing, Lagos State. And after that, we're going to take each of our discussants one after the other, and they will be prompted as required. Please, all participants, I would like us to gear our questions. Any question that you think it's appropriate or we want to direct to any individual, please put it on the chat box and you can indicate who the question is directed to. So to go further on this, we want to welcome the Commissioner for Housing Lagos State, Honorable Moruf Akindele-Fatai. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, and good morning, all.
Good morning, sir. Do you want to present anything? I can allow you to share the screen.
I don't have anything to share with that.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Entire members, the President and the entire members of the society. Good morning, all.
Good morning, sir. Sir, is it possible you help us a little with the volume?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, it's very good now. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, the President and the entire members of this Nigerian Society of Engineers, I'm highly delighted and honored to be here at the virtual symposium organized by your local association. I regard this as a unique opportunity and privilege to rub minds with your highly esteemed members on matters relating to provision of housing for the teeming populace in the state. The choice of the themes, affordable housing in Nigeria, problem and panacea, is an apt topic for a time like this, when the issue of housing deficit has become a global topic in all emerging megacities of the developing world. It is my hope that our discourse will bring us all together to a lasting solution to this subject. Lagos State is a highly populated state in Nigeria, having an estimated population of about 23 million, with an 8% growth rate. It is fast becoming the most populous in the West African region, with its limited land area. The state presents a perfect setting for a discussion on housing deficit. The housing deficit in the state is definitely on the high side, and the truth is that there's a challenging situation in which the housing requirement of this fast-growing population far outstrip the supply by both government and private sector investors. Housing is indeed a critical human need. When food and clothing issues can be easily resolved at micro levels, housing needs are more capital-based and require government intervention. So in light of this challenge, the present administration, headed by our visionary leader, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, sees an opportunity to impact on the lives of people positively. It is a wide window because building decent homes improves the aesthetic of our settlement, enhance dignity of the people, improves the health indices, and also provide employment for a wide range of people, both on the demand and supply side of the housing development. Our Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu came up with an agenda, which is known as THEMES Agenda. Housing falls under the 21st century economy of the pillar, which bringing home the intention is to make people have access to more decent homes when compared favorably with other that can compare favorably with other of its kind globally. Given this focus, the housing sector conducted its affair within the past 1 year to achieve that basic need. We have been engaging in activities that would strengthen the component of housing delivery in order to ensure that housing deficit is reduced in the state. At the commencement of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration, our ministry was asked to review and speedily deliver homes, especially to evaluate all abandoned housing schemes with a goal of completing within the shortest possible time. It also evaluated the policies that were in place in order to reflect the transformation vision of the new administration. Our strategy was our core strategies are in twofold. We have the direct budgetary allocation, as well as encouraging the private sector participation through the activation of all joint venture projects. We also plan to complete homes that are made available to the people through convenient mortgage arrangement under the Lagos Mortgage Board. We have a Lagos Mortgage Board, and people who really want to have direct purchase. Both channels will be to first-time owners. Those are people that we are really targeting to make sure that many people, first-time owners, are brought into the home ladder. The state also strategized on leveraging on innovative building technology, as well as improve capacity for artisans to reduce cost of building while enhancing the quality of homes. The modalities for a housing trust fund was also worked out to support both demand and supply angles of housing development, with the goal of entrenching a single-digit interest rate for housing financing in the state, an enabling environment that also supports transparency in real estate transaction. I hope Mrs. Stoker Benson will be online. She will throw more light on that. We have, in the past 1 year, we have concluded and commissioned in Alimosho, Latif Kayode, Jakonde, 492 homes. We have also concluded 360 homes in Igbobo, Ikorodu. Last week, we commissioned court land lottery for Atigokoshu, 120 homes. We have Lekki apartment, 124. And we also concluded the affordable public housing scheme in Dale, which is a very special scheme. And that relates to the idea of having environmentally friendly houses that can easily, that is affordable. We are pursuing that to make sure that that particular estate in Badagry, we have two bedroom that can be completed within 14 days. It is our pilot project, and then we hope to learn from some of those mistakes that we made along the line. But as we speak, we have been able to provide 252 homes in Idale Badagry using modern technology to present. It is an innovative technology. 4 units of homes are completely built at a comparable low cost within a very short timeline, usually 14 days. So we are hoping to replicate this in Nayobo as well as in Mota, so that we have more houses for people at low rates. So in conclusion, so that I won't take more time, the progress in the housing sector in the last 12 months affirmed the commitment of this administration to resolve the challenge of housing deficit in the megacity. Construction is ongoing in almost all the schemes that are either to be set aside by the previous administration. This, coupled with the process that put in place for the implementation of policy, reduce the barrier of home ownership, housing deficit has definitely been reduced and policy implementation strengthened by various agencies of government for greater results in the nearest future. Apart from creating decent and affordable shelter, construction work has also greatly aided the economic buoyancy of artisans, suppliers, professionals, and others involved at both demand and supply angles of home ownership. Why thank you all for listening. I invite you all as stakeholders in the greater Lagos agenda of the present administration to join hands with us in making our dream of providing decent homes to Lagosians a reality. As we move on, we invite everyone in the boot sector to join us in the creation of a collaborative platform which will serve as nexus between diverse professional groups. The objective of this medium will be to serve as a think tank and feedback point for government intervention in the housing sector. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, go ahead, sir. Engineer John.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, before we go ahead on these, I would like to welcome the President of Nigeria Society of Engineers, Engineer Babagana Mohammed, FNSE. Sir, you can speak now, sir. You can unmute the mic and speak, sir.
Good morning, all. Hello.
Good morning,
hello, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, all. Good morning, my branch members. Good morning, His Excellency, Honorable Minister of Works and Housing, and other top captains of industries. This team is very apt, and we are discussing a very pertinent problem. It's important that we provide in this century, we make effort to provide cheap, affordable houses for our populace. So, and from the rundown of the participants, I knew we have those who knew the housing problem of this country are on this platform now. So the onus now on them is to provide solution to it. Please provide solution to our problems. We are engineers, we are problem solvers. We cannot keep talking about problem every day. No, we need to direct our leaders, the policymakers. This is what it should be. Today is not a too much talk day. It's not a talk day. It's meant for us to come here and be educated. We are all willing to be educated. I saw Engineer Chidi on the platform. Please give Engineer Chidi time to say a word. Thank you very much. Do have a great day.
Thank you, my president.
Thank you very much. Do have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Chairman, sir, do I go ahead or?
Please proceed. Proceed with the agenda. Thank you.
Hello.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So thank you very much, Honorable.
Go ahead. My chairman.
We can hear you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, President NSC. Thanks also to the Commissioner on Housing, Lagos State. To go ahead on this, we would like to call on Engineer Mrs. Abiola Oshebe. Madam. Engineer Mrs. Abiola Oshebe. I'm not sure if she's presently. Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. Well, getting this invitation from the Nigerian Society of Engineers, VI branch, I want to say a big thank you for organizing this program. I just put something together very quickly, and I'll just quickly run through. So we're talking about affordable housing in Nigeria. Our president has already mentioned that we don't want to be talking about problems. However, I will just quickly start with an introduction, going to the problems, so to speak, and probably just prefer some solutions. So we all know about the population of Nigeria and Lagos State. Our population is estimated to, by the United Nations, to reach almost 289 million by 2050. The cost of housing at present of a 2 to 3 bedroom is estimated at an average of 7 million. Whilst we already have a huge deficit, as mentioned earlier by the Honorable Commissioner of Housing, for Nigeria, we have a huge deficit of 24 million housing. And for Lagos, we have a deficit of approximately 2.5 million. 60% of Lagosians are actually living below minimum income as rated by the Lagos State Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget. What do we actually call an affordable house? Looking through descriptions, it actually says that housing is affordable if a family spends no more than 30% of their income to live there. So what we're saying in essence is that every household, we recognize that every household has additional expense that they need to pay for. So housing is actually affordable if it meets 30% of that test. So you don't want to spend more than 30% of your total income on housing. Once you do that, it's no longer affordable. What are the problems that we have with housing in Nigeria? I think the purchasing power is decreasing. The cost of construction is increasing. Accessibility to land also is becoming a big problem, especially in Lagos. We're no longer building on land, we're now building on water, we're building on the wetlands. We have the inaccessibility to actually have mortgage facilities. And we also have the issue of, government policies that affect the issues. So we all know about our purchasing power. The dollar has gone up drastically. The naira to dollar has become a serious matter. The fluctuation is always so radical. We really cannot, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So our purchasing power keeps decreasing. We can't afford the construction and the buildings, the rents. So that's a huge problem. How does housing become affordable if we don't have the purchasing power? Cost of construction. Like I said earlier, the way it goes now, there you find that there are a lot of developers now on ground. People are actually purchasing one plot. They'll build like 3 structures on it. They sell each structure for the cost of maybe just one building. So they are making maximum profit on a plot of land. It becomes unaffordable because we are looking at, something that should cost maybe 7 million, they are selling it for 14 million, they're selling it for 20 something million. So it's a huge problem. Part of the high cost of construction includes, like I said earlier, the increased cost in building materials, inflation, importation of goods. We're a nation of importers. We import practically everything. Manufacturing is very expensive because there's no power to manufacture. So these are issues, and also the high lending rates. In UK, you can borrow money for 3% or less, even less. I think it's the rate has actually gone down to less than 1% or something like that. Here in Nigeria, the rate is like 25, 30%. How do we cope with that? Let's look at accessibility of land too. We're looking at the issue: you buy a piece of land, and then what happens after that? You want to start building. We have the Omoniles will come. They want some money from you. You have, there's another issue where you buy a piece of land. Before you have your money to develop that piece of land, you already have land grabbers there. Somebody is already building on it. You are struggling. You know, the problems are a lot. So the other thing with accessibility of land, like I said, for example, Lagos in particular, we have built all the available land spaces. We're now sand filling, we're reclaiming wetlands. Cost of construction definitely is going to be very high because the type of foundation you're going to use for those kind of structures is going to be very expensive. We talked about the mortgage scheme. There's literally no mortgage scheme that is available. There's just recently the introduction of the federal mortgage scheme that we're trying to revitalize. Government policies and intervention in Lagos State, like the Honorable Commissioner has said just now, there are lots of housing schemes that are ongoing. The state government is putting in a lot of effort to make housing available to the masses. So what are the solutions? What are we looking at? For easy access to land, the government, like the Ministry of Housing, they have acquired a lot of land in order to provide mass housing. By the time, there are certain areas that definitely we will not call affordable housing, but there are areas in Lagos State that should be affordable to the masses. We talked about the development control. Under development control, haphazard construction for Lagos State, even though we still have, Lagos is zoned, the Lagos State Physical Planning Permit Authority with the Lagos State Ministry of Physical Planning has zoned the whole of Lagos State. We have master plans for Lagos State. We have orders with heights restriction and things like that. So, but unfortunately, development actually is running faster sometimes than actually the state government. But we are doing our best to ensure that we catch up with development. The cost, we need to actually look at cost-saving designs. The approach of cost to design will actually reduce construction costs and allow low-cost housing to be more achievable. In other countries, there are so many things that, so many incentives and schemes that architects utilize to make sure that we are designing in such a way that is not too expensive and therefore making it affordable for the people. The mortgage scheme I talked about, I think recently the federal, for civil servants, the federal mortgage scheme has been actually introduced where we can all sign up now. And I think everybody can sign on to this scheme where you can actually get soft loans to be able to, which you can pay back over a period of time, which will allow you to be able to invest in housing. We need to actually spend more time as engineers doing a lot more research on the type of building materials that is local to us and will allow construction to be even more affordable. We need to look at how we can reduce cost of production, how we can also utilize natural materials. Using clay bricks, for example. However, clay bricks to me may look expensive to start with, but when you look at cost of maintenance and things like that, you reduce in future. So we need to look at things materials that will reduce the cost of our housing. Lagos State efforts, like I said earlier, the federal mortgage scheme, the mass housing scheme, lower lending rates. Lagos State government also created the land grabbers office where you can, if you bought a piece of land, you have issues, you can actually address this to the land grabbers office where they can try to resolve it. Other things to look at are height restrictions in certain areas. In a lot of countries, you will discover that affordable housing, they are actually higher structures. They are structures that go beyond 10 floors. Those that if we're able to look into those kind of structures, then we are able to provide affordable housing. So that's my short presentation, so that I don't take too much of your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma, Engineer Mrs. Abiola Koshebe. To proceed on this, Engineer Christian Okuri. Engineer Christian, you can unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, okay, next we'll have the Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urban Development, Mr. Idris Okanla Salako. Please, Honorable Idris Okanla Salako, you're online, please. Oh, how do you online?
No, well, maybe you should just raise his hand or send a message so that I can give him access to be able to unmute
Honorable
himself.
Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urban Development.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Okay.
We can hear you.
I have Oladumi Duni Oke. She's representing the Honorable Commissioner for Fiscal Planning and Urban Development. She should be in the room right now. Madam, could you please take the floor?
Housing in Nigeria today has been a very big problem and issues that we've been talking about. And today, I'm particularly happy that the Nigerian Society of Engineers are organizing a program like this and also inviting architects and other professionals in it. I would not want to flog a couple of things that have been talked about. I sincerely thank the first speaker who spoke on the commissioner who spoke on the kind of low cost housing that they've been doing they've been working on, the one in Badagry, the one they want to do in Ayobo and Imota. I also like to talk about, take you from what the second speaker talked about, the issue of access to land and reduction of our purchasing power due to inflation. Today, the issue of affordable housing lies in the hands of the government and the professionals. First, when I mention the government are the custodian of land in the country. And we all know that land is a major cost element, a major cost factor when you talk about affordable housing. From land, you get to the design. And if government is able to give land to developers, true and genuine developers, I believe that the issue of affordable housing, we will be able to reduce the housing deficit we have. As of today, the housing deficit in Nigeria is about 20 million. And like the second speaker talked about, that affordable housing is when you're able to live in a house and you don't spend more than 30% of your earnings. Most of the buildings we have today, I do not think that we spend less or even 30% of our housing earnings. So today, if the government can give access to land, I can assure you that the issue of affordable housing will reduce. Now, if you check what is happening in Lagos State towards the Lekki axis, most of those providing housing are private developers. And most of these private developers are pure businessmen who needs to make profits from whatever business they are doing. If government can partner with true developers who are into affordable housing, I can assure you that we'll be able to reduce the housing deficit, because land, it's almost about 40% of the cost of the housing that we have. Then when we look at the professionals, more especially the architects, it is time for the architect to design for need. When I mean design for need, you don't give 2-bedroom flat to somebody who needs a 1-bedroom apartment. It's also time for us to be able, we as professionals, to meet standard, to have standard. Let us standardize what we need to do for affordable housing. Do we need a 9 square meter room? Do we need 12 square meters? Do we need 15 square meters? So it is a time for us to give a household what they truly need. And we must also have what we call appropriate sizing. We can provide facilities, what we call co-share. And if we have co-share, you can give them where they can have amenities that they can share, like kitchen, like laundry, while you have their toilets and bathrooms personal to them. Then we also need to look about energy saving. We need to begin to look at, we as professionals, engineers, architects, to begin to incorporate energy saving indicators into our own buildings while we are designing this affordable housing. Most of the buildings we have in Lekki houses, most of these buildings are not affordable. A couple of them, you go to a plot of land and you find rows of about 4 terrace buildings without parking space, without play areas, without things that can make people feel comfortable. And we also remember that we have our own culture as Nigerians, where we have common space where we need to stay. So it's important we begin to look at shelter and safety. And under safety, we need to look at designing buildings with cross ventilation, buildings that can meet our health needs. And it's also the time for us as professionals to engage corporate professionals and take away those who really do not know what it means to talk about affordable housing to provide. Oftentimes, I will also mention that we in Nigeria, Lagos, we should adopt the Vienna model. Vienna, Austria is a country where you have more housing than the people. In Vienna, they have over 200,000 houses, more than the people. I really and sincerely thank Lagos State for what they are already doing. We know what they have in Lekki Phase 1 area. We see what they've done in Gondo. And we also see what they are doing in terms of rent to hold. Lagos State is actually taking a lead role in this. But it will be difficult for them to be able to meet all the needs if they are unable to partner with partner with the private developers. Because if government of Lagos State wants to handle affordable housing, their budget will be depleted because they can't do it alone. So we appreciate what the Lagos State government is doing by taking a lead. I'm also aware that Lagos State is also doing what we call Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Because beyond creating an avenue for us to have affordable houses, it is also important to be able to create access to this funding. So Lagos State is already planning to have affordable housing trust fund scheme where professionals, cooperatives can come together to access funds for them to be able to have something like mortgage. So today it's important for us as professionals to look into the way we design. We need to rethink our design. We need to look at the spaces we offer people. We need to look at the minimum requirements. If it's for us to meet to the physical planning unit and the Lagos Building Control Unit to change some of the regulations we have to be able to meet affordable housing needs, then we need to do that as professionals, working together with the state government. Because oftentimes, most of the things we offer people are not what they need. We offer them what they want without offering them the true space that they need. So for us as architects, we've done in our Lagos Architects Forum in 2018, we did a competition where we had to come up with different materials, local materials that we can use for affordable housing. Last year, we did a competition sponsored by Sterling Alternative Finance, where we did pure affordable housing, where we engaged brains to be able to come up with different schemes and solutions. I can tell you there are different schemes and solutions that meet affordable housing, but government needs to help us with access to land. Then the financial institution and the private entity also needs to work with the private developers to have a PPP kind of arrangement where we'll be able to get affordable housing issues sorted out. So we need the professionals, we need the government, then we need the financial sector for us to be able to solve this issue. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. So I think we can go ahead, Engineer John.
Yes, please proceed with whoever is online now.
Okay, sir. So presently, to go ahead with this conversation is Professor Timothy Benganubi. Professor Timothy, sir, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to say again that I want to appreciate this opportunity of joining scholars, professionals, citizen administrators in this discourse. I've listened very well. It's a pleasure listening to my brother, the Commissioner for Housing. And I've listened very carefully to the architect, Kosebi. I'm sorry if the name is not properly pronounced. I've listened to the chairman, the president of the great institution that is putting this together today. My own intervention now, let me build on what we have had thus far. The problem of housing in this country, though the president said we should not discuss problem, the problem of housing, the way I see it in this last few minutes, is like different people looking at housing from different perspectives. And that has always been the problem in the past few years. I want to appreciate the Commissioner for Housing for what they are doing. And I want to actually appreciate the wisdom with which he tried as much as possible to avoid giving us figures. He simply told us that Lagos State have huge deficits. He didn't tell us the figure. He simply told us the number of projects they have all over Lagos. He didn't give us figure. that's not too good. That's not too good. Because it's when we begin to work with figures that we can set a milestone. If I know the enormity of the problem that I'm facing, I will know how to confront it. If I know that Lagos State, because Madam the architect could say eventually rescued us, she gave us figures. Engineers, professionals work with figures. 24 million, the architect said, all over the country, housing deficits. 2.5 million in Lagos. We are informed by the architect that an average cost of a house, a 3-bedroom flat, is 7 million. And she equally informed us that 60% of Lagosians are living below poverty line. These figures have huge implications. Unless we begin to interrogate these figures and run with these figures, we will just be moving in circles. And that's what the nation has been doing in the last 50 years. If we have 2.5 million housing deficits in Lagos, and then the government in the last 10 years, they've been able to build less than 50,000. Then, how are we resolving the problem? Which means that we'll just be passing the problem from generation to generation. So we have to be the starting point of housing, affordable housing, I would say, in line with what the president said this morning, that we should not focus on problems, because the problem is here, staring at us. If we now say that we have 2.5 million housing deficit, then we roll our sleeves and say, how do we get this? How do we crush this figure? How do we crush this figure? How do we crush this figure? So if government can be sincere to begin to work with figures, then we'll have solution. I just want that to be my introduction. The Greater Lagos agenda of the present government, very wonderful, very noble, very revolutionary. But it can be achieved if emphasis is laid on housing. And that's where professionals come in. I want to appreciate the conclusion of architect Kusebe. All these no land, no this, they are things we should just forget. There is no land, there is no housing has gone beyond that. Housing has gone beyond brick and mortar. And these are the new thinking that we must be prepared to embrace as a nation. Housing is beyond brick and mortar. For any nation that will not commoditize housing, that nation cannot make progress. And that was the conclusion of Madam Architect Kusebe, that we begin to build high-rise houses. We begin to build en masse. We begin to mass produce housing. And when we are building high-rise housing, when we are mass producing, that's how engineers can be relevant. So I want to say, in the last few years, the Honorable Minister for Housing has been challenging this country on how do we get the 17 million housing deficit that she repeated it yesterday. He was still saying, what is the definition of affordable housing? That how can we get affordable housing? Because there's no affordable cement. There's no affordable building material. So how can we now get? And I believe that this is not the question a nation should be asking for 5 years. But if that is the question they've been asking, which we have been answering, and nobody is listening, let's just look at this. How do we get affordable housing in Nigeria? One, affordability, as Madam rightly said, is when an household is not paying more than 30% of the income, or their income, on housing. Once they pay more than that, it's no longer affordable. Then how do we get affordable housing? 3 factors that I want to leave with us before I drop the microphone. We can only come about when we pay attention to these 3 factors. 1, cost of housing, income, and term of payment. Those are the 3 things that comes in when it comes to affordability. It's not affordable because it's expensive. Because if the average cost of construction, which is actually being modest, the architect was very modest by saying 3-bedroom flat, 7 million. That's being modest. But if we say an average construction cost of 3-bedroom flat in Nigeria today is 7 million, and we are saying 60% are living below poverty line, then this conference, who is this conference for? All along that Nigeria meet on housing summit, we kept on focusing on new builds. And as long as we concentrate on new builds, as long as we concentrate on new builds, we will not get the problem resolved. But let's look at these figures now. If the average cost is 7 million, we did a project in university that we are packaging. We found out that it takes a professor to buy a 7 million house. Senior lecturers do not afford it from a loan from FMBN Bank of Nigeria. So it is a responsibility. It's only when we begin to build a mass and we go up that we'll be able to eliminate the problem of land. Because we are a country and we are a state that have mismanaged our land. We have just spread. Go to develop economy. Affordable houses are on levels. You maximize the value of land. But we have spread. We have sprawl. We have developed slum. So housing is not affordable because we are factoring the cost of land, which is, we say, is 40%, because one person is building on the plot. Whereas in other economy, about 1,500 people will live in such space. If 1,004 is on less than 5 hectares of land, if 1,004 is to be bungalow, it will spread to a pair. But look at the compact 1,004 units in that less than 5 hectares of land. Look at how infrastructures were maximized. Look at how maintenance is maximized. It's only when we begin to have those such development that we can see the engineer, the town planner, the architect actually playing active role. Architect is not involved in development of slum. Engineer is not involved in development of slum. Until we begin to package housing and see it delivered as a commodity, mass production, industrialization of housing, producing it just like any other commodity, it is a very common thing that economy of scale brings efficiency and reduces cost. Once we begin to produce a mass, cost will reduce. If costs should reduce, then affordability comes in. And if we are able to crash the price to about 3 million, more people begin to afford it. And then this 3 million, the majority of the people could not afford. But if they can now have a mortgage that will allow them to pay over a period of time, then affordability comes in. I kept on using this example. I'm trying to round up. I kept on using this example. When telephone came to this country, mobile line, the multi-link started the revolution. They were selling it at 180,000. Many people could not afford it. But when they asked people, come and pay 50,000, and you pay the remaining for a period of 11 months or 10 months, oh, the queue was so long at Victoria Island. Because if you are paying 180,000, you can afford it. Run away. But the same people, not because their income has increased, but because they were asked pay a fraction, and then you pay the remaining. Though when you pay for 11 or 13 months, you pay more. But people will come in. That is the role of mortgage. If the cost of construction, if we are able to reduce it through mass production, whereby the professionals will have a role to play, we eliminate the problem of we don't have land. We eliminate the problem of professionals not being involved, last houses. Because no quack will patronize professionals. No person building a Shomolu building and get to at that incremental construction over a period of 16 years. An average house in Nigeria today, using the present procurement method, according to Professor Miri, builds over a period of 16 years. It lays the foundational plant cocoa on it, plant cassava on it, plant vegetable on it, comes back after 5 years to a real wall, to the window level. These are what we are doing. Nigeria will be involved in such procurement system. We have to change the narrative. I kept on saying that it's only in this country. Okay, it's only in this country. Probably if I have time to come back, but let me conclude by saying it's only in this country that poor people say, I want to build a house. I want to build a house. The rich people, they buy. But all over the world, an average citizen, they buy houses. The rich one builds. We have to change the narrative. We have to change to mass construction. If I have the opportunity to talking again, I will go back to slum and urban regeneration, because that is where the big issue is, not new build. How do we address the several thousands of houses in this country and in this state that are substandard, that through improvement we can just build up and release them into the market? How do we embark upon urban renewal? Those are the second leg. If I have the opportunity of coming back again. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Professor. We're very grateful for that insightful presentation. Moderator, I have the representative of the Commissioner for Urban and Physical Planning on the line. She's going to be speaking to us through my phone. Madam, can you take the floor now, please, and introduce yourself real quick, and then proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. I'm Okiola Joni. I'm representing the Honorable Commissioner for Local Development. I'm sorry I've been having some technical issues. I've been trying since around 10:30, but all the same, what I have here for the topic is housing and affordability in Nigeria, the problems and Peninsula. There are a lot of problems and what we can do about the problems. The real fact is that usually the affordability of housing is being misconstrued, because access to housing does not really have to mean house ownership, just as the last speaker professor mentioned. Housing affordability has to do with being able to at least access housing, not you owning it personally. For instance, the problems that we have listed here, one is the inadequate or paucity of demographic data to actually know who and who needs what category of housing. The large scale, low level of income too has to do with it, because if you don't have income to afford it, housing production is definitely different from the distribution. It takes a lot of capital to put up housing. It's not just the house, the infrastructures that would service it too. And there's land accessibility issues, which has to do with our land tenure system, which is actually affecting the availability of land and the accessibility by private investors who have the wherewithal to actually access this land and build. The people are very much, attached to their land, especially because that land is actually limited in size. Then the issue of access to housing finance too is an issue. Access to housing finance, because even the housing loans and housing allowances, or even the loans are barely enough as rentage, not for you to pay your rent, rather than you being able to even afford to buy a land, talk less of having to put up a top house. If you are talking about people having access to just about 800,000 to 1 million naira as housing loan, then you can really determine whether they can be able to even afford that, to have their own housing. However, there's a provision for mass housing scheme, and then there are other schemes about what do you call it, cooperative housing too. So some of the solutions that are highlighted here from the commissioner are: one, there will be continuous update of database of demographic data for housing, for the distribution. Then data-informed housing, really, we need that. Now, not everybody should want to say, I want to own a house. It depends on your income level, because housing is not that cheap. You have freedom, you have access to shelter, but not for housing as in you must own it. And mapping and survey of the basic housing components and possibility of local manufacturing, because basically the components of housing, major part of it is out to the construction material, high cost of material. It's really a problem, and the local manufacturing is really at almost the lowest end. So schemes such as encouraging local manufacturing, or encouraging or giving favorable business climate to whoever is manufacturing from the countries that they are being imported from, for them to establish here, government to acquire some parcels of land, and then maybe some moratorium for them to establish the factories here, and they will have a local production to actually cut down the cost. Then joint ventures with private investors for production too can be looked at, and then the board in charge of rent to own properly screened, and then housing units to actually be subsidized, and there should be a kind of multi-criteria for the distribution of the housing schemes provided by government, such that the housing will be able to go around. Not that one person or one particular sector will be available for pickup every time. Once like the LRS is being done now, that once your data is being keyed into the database, it pops up some issues, and maybe you'll be screened out. If at all you've had 1 or 2 units in Lagos, it pops up and tells the system that you are not for that category of housing being provided. With that multiple criteria being used in screening for distribution and for accessibility, it would actually be getting near us providing for everybody, because it's only people who actually need it that will get it. So allocation will now be on merit, because you'll be screened out with such criteria. And then vertical development in Lagos, we have competent professionals that can actually do that, but it also costs so much money. But if private investors are involved and not just giving housing provision to government, will go a long way. Then for housing distribution, it's not just to be a one-size-fits-all. If there's a housing scheme provided, we can just prorate it somehow. A particular percentage of the housing stock could be for mortgage, a particular percentage outright sale, another percentage leasehold, then maybe another one for renting. With that, it will go around. Then acquisition of land for public housing development, and then the needs have to be tailored to what is being provided. And the Standard Organization of Nigeria has a lot of role to play, such that whatever you have projected in terms of cost for setting up a structure, it could just be that, or just plus or minus a very little percentage, because substandard materials too increase the cost of housing. Let me stop there now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. We're grateful. After all the trouble, you finally made it. Thank you very much. Moderator, I hand over to you now.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, it's okay. Sorry, since we have the federal, the representative of the Federal House, MD Federal Housing Authority, Mr. Mohammed Garba, before us, please. Mr. Mohammed Garba, representing Managing Director, Federal Housing Authority, Umar S. Gonto. Please, can you speak up, please? Mohammed Garba.
Christian, maybe you might need to confirm if he is presently online.
Okay.
Please do that.
Okay, no problem. Proceed, please. Proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much, all our panelists. We appreciate your time and for staying true to this. We are very, very grateful. This is now the session where we're going to have an engagement between the panelists and also the participants. We're going to be taking questions and answers. If you want to ask a question, please use the raise hand button. The raise hand button is just at the participants tab. Or if you're using your phone, just go to the far right, click on the three dots that are there, you'll be able to raise your hand. Once you raise your hand, definitely we're going to call on you. And if you don't want to say much, you can as well type your question on the chat box and we're going to read it out and you can as well address it to whosoever you deem fit to respond to your question. During the presentation, there were some questions that I captured. The first one is from Engineer Edmond Naj. Please, if you're not speaking, help mute your mic. Thank you very much. Please, if you are not speaking, mute your mic. Thank you. So the first one is from Engineer Edmond Naj, and this is addressed to the Commissioner for Housing. He said, thanks for your presentation. The problem of flooding continues to pose a great challenge to housing development in Lagos State. Please, what is Lagos State doing to help manage it, especially around the Isheri North Lagos State area?
Can I go ahead?
So I don't know, maybe, yeah, go ahead, sir, please.
Thank you, Mr. Edmond Naji. I think you know that Isheri North is along the water plain. And you also recall that over the years, we have been having a bigger flood around this area. But we have Lagos State in combination with other states like Lagos and meet twice a year to talk about how to regulate water from Ogun or Osun Dam. Anytime we have too much rain that we should, definitely the dam will overflow and they will naturally want to release more water so that the dam will not collapse. So what we do every year with our counterparts is to regulate this water flow so that they know when to release and when to reduce. But the problem is that people kept on building without approval plans along this place. And definitely you have this kind of issue. I am sure the physical planning people will be able to talk on this. But the truth of the matter is that that place is on wetland. And to reduce the challenge, we meet twice a year with this neighboring state to regulate how the water are released so that we do not have flooding in this area. And we will collect that over the years. This has really helped, and we have not really had a major problem in our hands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So like I said earlier, if you have any question or comments, please raise the raise hand button. And if you don't want to do that, please put your questions on the chat box and we'll read it. We have another question from Engineer Okai Sabo. And this is addressed to architect Uma. He said, are we offering customers what they don't need and making them pay for it? I think that is in reaction to your conversation while you were speaking earlier.
Okay, thank you very much, our hosts. I think the participant actually misconstrued my presentation. What I meant is that oftentimes that when we are designing for affordable housing, we must design for need. And when I mean designing for need, we must design for what they really need. For regular clients that comes to me that tell you that I need a 4-bedroom duplex, oftentimes we don't even find out what their earnings are. We just keep giving them what we think it suits them. And it's also good to note that it's a criminal offense to lead a client on a project where you know that he cannot afford it. I don't know, maybe most of us know that. So to clarify that, we don't offer them and charge them for what they don't need. What I'm saying is that we must further probe to ensure that what they are asking us to do for them is truly what they need and not what they want. A typical example is if you have a household, maybe they are just 4, and you know the man doesn't really have, can go beyond his 30% earnings to be able to do that. You can offer them and tell them, you know what, you want 3-bedroom bungalow at the end of the day, but I can design a 2-bedroom for you now, expandable to 3-bedroom in future when your earnings increase. So what you then do is that you make a design for him and show in the drawing, create an extension for him in the future. This has really, really worked, and we do it a lot for clients. So that's what I mean. I don't mean that we've been offering clients what they don't what they don't need and charge them for it. I don't know if that answers this question.
Thank you very much, sir. We have another question from Engineer Ebele, and that's also addressed to Architect Uma. Said mortgage is a challenge, but I still think that the costs of the property must be reduced first while mortgage is being addressed. Else, we will only turn the population to enslaved debtors for a long time.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I give a practical example. If you noticed in my presentation, I had challenged the professionals. When I mean the professionals, the architects, the engineers, that we must rethink the way we do our design. We know that NHS in the mortgage they give out is about 5 million. So what we're saying is that we must ensure that whatever design we are giving to clients must meet at least within the range of their budgets before offering them this design. So that whatever budgets they get, they can now augment it to be able to build this project and proceed with it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, before we go ahead, we have the representative of the Federal Housing Authority, Engineer Garba. Sir, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Okay. Yes, good afternoon, the President of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and all other protocols observed. My name is Engineer Yakubu Ali Garba, FNSC, Vice President, Nigerian Society of Engineers. In this case, representing the Managing Director, the Acting Managing Director of the Federal Housing Authority, Barrister Umar S. Gwanto. I have been on the meeting or on the lecture all along. I don't know, am I to make comments now? Is it my time to make comment?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
Yes, on I have listened to so many presenters on the affordable housing. Affordable housing is a relative term, even though someone has defined it as or it is defined as a housing that when you use 30% of your income, the family will not enter problem. But coming from the practitioners of the housing itself, Federal Housing Authority, I have an experience of about spanning 25 years in Federal Housing Authority, working producing various kind of houses. What makes house affordable or not affordable? There are a lot of challenges. For houses to be affordable, government have to come in form of infrastructure, because from experience, it is the infrastructure that makes the houses to be so expensive. When you construct the houses with complementary roads, water, and electricity infrastructure, by the time you build in the cost of the infrastructure into the cost of the building, plus the cost of land, and then profit, you discover that it is really not easy. Even the person that I had was talking about that is 3-bedroom flat should be 7 million naira. We have tried it. Believe you me, it's not easy. The one we had a housing estate in Zuba, where we tried to make it really affordable. But even when we peg that 3-bedroom flat, even in block of flats at 7 million, we discovered that we are still running, we are losing. We are not gaining anything. In fact, we are losing. So for me, to make houses affordable, government have to come in form of subsidy to provide the necessary infrastructure. Let the practitioners or let the housing providers just engage themselves with the cost of constructing the houses. And then the second factor is the finishings in the houses. We need to look at the finishing in the houses. When you say 3-bedroom, a 3-bedroom can even be 30 million, depending on the kind of finishes you want to put inside. So what we do in federal housing, in those houses that we call affordable housing, we try to at least give the minimum standard of a house for this, so that if eventually the allottees have any fortune in future, they can upgrade it. Just as an example, if you have your ceiling with a particle board or asbestos cement ceiling, when someone has money, he can remove it and replace it with POP later in future. But generally, it is the infrastructure. Then the third aspect is the general infrastructure in the country, which makes the production of building material costly. And then again, when we look at going vertical, we say we should go vertical. We design up to 8-story block of flats in one of our estates. But the challenges of if you have 8-bedroom, 8-floor block of flats, you must have lifts. Now that lift, how do you power it when we have a electric power supply? So we have to be looking at, okay, we must produce independent power supply to that estate, which again will now come and make it costlier than we expected. So I think for us to have a affordable housing, there has to be general infrastructure in the country, and then government, anywhere there are going to be estate, government should come in and provide the estate, the infrastructure. We tried that with our Federal Housing Authority Lube Estate along Airport Road, whereby government was to provide the roads, electricity, and water. Then we only built. If you remember, it was 1994. The houses were relatively cheap. Unfortunately, the government could not execute their own part of the bargain. That's why maybe when you go to that estate now, you see the residents complaining that there is no road. That was actually what happened. So the honorable commissioners, government officials that are there, please note that for us to have affordable housing, government has to come in by way of subsidy to provide infrastructure. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much, Engineer Yakubu Ali Garba. So to go
Thank
ahead,
you.
we have some participants who already raised their hand. We're in the question and answer session. So Engineer Garba, there might be some questions addressed to you as well.
Okay, no
Engineer
problem.
Emeka.
I'll be on, but I'll mute my microphone. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Engineer Emeka, you can speak now.
Okay, thank you very much, Engineer Shegun. First of all, let me appreciate our various resource persons who have done justice to the topic at hand. I have two questions. The first question goes to Architect Umar. On the issue of incorporating energy savings in designs, I know it's really very important in ensuring that housing is affordable and also reducing a carbon footprint. So just to enlighten us the more, I will appreciate if you can shed more light on the kind of energy savings the architects are injecting into designs to make them affordable and as green as possible. That's my first question. My second question goes to GM Labka, Engineer Mrs. Koshegbe, FNSCF Nice. It's on the area of updating professionals in the built environment in respect of the permits and also updates in laws in Lagos State government, because I'm aware there were some updates. What are your efforts in ensuring that professionals in the built environment are up to speed on any changes in laws in terms of permits? And also, what are the efforts your professor is making to ensure that approvals come out on time so that infrastructure development meets less hiccups moving forward? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Architect Umar, you want to take that? Or Engineer Kushegbe, anyone?
So the Lagos State Building Control Agency is, hello? The Lagos State Building Control Agency is not the agency in charge of issuing permits. The permits are issued by the Lagos State Physical Planning Permit Authority. In December 2019, there have been several, since the Honorable Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, since he took over, we have had several new things that have come on board based on the 2010 law. One of them is the introduction of the appeals, Physical Planning and Building Control Appeals Committee. The other is the signing of the regulation, Lagos State Physical Planning Permit Regulation and the Lagos State Building Control regulations. All these are available online for professionals, because it is actually saddening to know that sometimes when the Lagos State Building Control Agency is actually the agency that enforces a lot of these building infractions. And you will find that sometimes when you go to sites, you will discover that a lot of our professionals are not abreast of the laws, the regulations. For example, one of the things that you need to be aware of is that when you obtain a development permit from LASPA, you need to actually write a letter to LABCA, that's the Lagos State Building Control Agency, informing the agency that you have obtained these permits and that you intend to commence construction. So you can as well indicate the time or the date that you want to commence construction, or if you are not ready to commence yet, whatever the case may be, but you need to give 7 days statutory notice to the agency of your intention to commence construction, because there is need to obtain authorization before you commence construction. A lot of people do not know this, but it is there. And these are some of the things that we're trying to enlighten the public, and most especially the professionals on this. Part of what we do is to make sure that on the construction sites, professionals are on site. I take time because, honestly speaking, engineering is probably the most adulterated profession. A mechanic will call himself a mechanical engineer. A bricklayer will call himself a civil engineer. Somebody that just does drawing will call himself an architect. And I take time to tell them that it is a criminal offense to represent yourself as such. And so there are a lot of things that we ourselves need to do. And also in any of the projects we're doing, we also need to enlighten other people. I hope I've addressed your question. We have our website. I think the Lagos State website, if you go on the Lagos State website, how to contact us is there, where you can actually reach us. And we're always urging people. In fact, we're going to be introducing some other new initiatives shortly, which will also make things a little bit easier for people. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
thank
much,
you, ma. Okay, Architect Uma is back. Okay. Thank you very much for your question on energy saving. First, I would like to say, if you notice my line of thought since I've been making this presentation, I keep talking about the professionals, meaning the architects and the engineers. What I mean by energy efficiency, I'm an architect and I'm designing a 3-bedroom affordable housing. First, the thing I need to do is to design the right space for my clients. Then 2, get my electrical engineer to find out the energy, the total energy required for this building. Sometimes we have all sorts of lights points in the living room that we truly do not need. And in the afternoon, we can stay through up our windows when we have cross ventilation like they require us in the physical planning unit. So you see that we need to know the energy consumption of this building, see how we can reduce it. Then we also talked about solar energy, solar power. These are expensive at the beginning, but at the long run, it is safe. It is cheaper for us. And again, our attitude to the way we use power needs to change. And when we begin to educate our clients on all these things, it will help us when we talk about affordable housing. Somebody is in the living room, he is not in the kitchen, but the power, the light bulb is on. Somebody is in the living room and he's not in the dining, the AC or the fan there is on. So some of these things need to be changed, and all professionals must work together to ensure that we get the right energy, the right material for our clients in this affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have people raising their hands. Engineer Adedayo, Engineer Bello, Engineer Shalason, we can see you. Just hold on, please. I'm going to call you presently and very soon. We have 2 questions for Professor Timothy. The first is from Engineer Kadri.
Amir. Please bring in Engineer Chirizua.
And I posted my question.
Yeah, I'm going to read it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we have 2 questions for Professor Timothy. The first one is from Engineer Kadri. She said, maximizing land by building multi-dwelling units is a very important solution. But I must add that distributed power systems will have to be deployed. I hope these are being considered. Then we have another question for Professor from Engineer Kenichi Ubaja. His question is on alternative building materials. He said, I believe that as long as we retain traditional materials, and given that inflation has been on rise, I can see how we drive cost of building down. What are we doing in this regard? And how can we advance research and development? Professor Timothy, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much again for this great opportunity. Someone once asked me that we should promote local design, local this and that. And I kept on saying, look, we're in a globalized world where the entire world today is a village. My ATM card that I use in Nigeria, I get around the world and I use them. How long are we continue to design around failure, systemic failure? Well, we know that to go high, to densify is a way out. For how long are we going to be saying no electricity? You know, like I'm saying that all over the world, necessity has always been the mother of invention. But necessity has become mother of frustration in Africa. For how long are we going to be building and using valuable and misusing and abusing valuable urban land? So we have to move up. We have just to change. But let me say that what is the way? What is the way forward? I say affordable housing, building high-rise, is not a rocket science. We've seen it in other climes. Many of us as students in overseas in Europe, we stayed in this, even as student hostel. And we are saying that if there are these high-rise houses as far back as 10, 20 years, 50 years ago in Toronto, in UK, and we are saying that for the fear of supply of electricity, we should not go that way, if that is the solution. For how long are we going to do that? But to put meat to what I said earlier, because I may not have opportunity, I will give a solution. Through this explanation, probably we can find a solution. You see, as long as we are building incrementally, one house, one family, one house, we professionals will become irrelevant. We have architects today who have no job, engineers today who have no job. As long as the projects we have in this country are this one building here and there, we have lost our relevance. The only way we can be relevant and where all of us have to support is this mass construction. And how are we going to achieve it? How did they do it in UK? In UK today, we have English partnership. English partnership are in charge of land. The Housing Corporation in charge of financing. About 10 years ago, English partnership and Housing Corporation they came together. We are all aware of the menace of council housing. When low-cost housing and the so-called Nigerian affordable housing, when we mass poor people together, the social implication of it, they've gone through it in UK. They learned their lesson. What was the way out? They came with housing association. The housing association are what we call REDAN, Real Estate Development Association in Nigeria today. The housing association, they get to Housing Corporation that merge with English partnership. They will give them land. They will give them supporting financing. They will build about 2,000 housing units, mass housing in Croydon, in East London. And if governments have given you the land and they have given you this financial support to do big time projects where engineers is role, where architects is role, quantities of your house is role, where they give them land and kick-off fund that they could leverage bank loan to develop. After they develop that project, 20% of it is given back to the local authority. who eventually gave 20% of the 2,000 housing units to the poor people, key workers. Key workers and poor people now begin to live in the same community with rich people who bought at millions of naira. This was the way they were able to eliminate agglomeration of poor people that led to Brixton riot in 1986. That's what the way they were able to phase out council housing. Government have to work with developers. Developers have to work with professionals and get this fund and get this land and embark upon mass housing. Commissioner Yalawa, who yesterday became the leader of Kingdom, started that project. He was pushing that project under his commissionership. He was pushing that project that never again will Lagos State, and he do that work into the ministry and be seeking approval for a building. Let the developer come. And when we did that one, energy efficiency comes in, professional comes into play. Energy efficiency comes to play. Affordability is crashed.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. So,
thank you very much, sir.
Shagun.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, sir.
I would like us to bring Dr. Chidi online. Let him have a word or two, please.
Well,
okay,
I mean,
Chidi,
thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much, the president, for pulling me out. I actually just wanted to stay by the side and learn from every person else. But I think that it's important to say that we need to change our paradigm about housing. We need to stop seeing housing as a deficit, as a problem. We need to see it as an opportunity, just like we did with mobile phones. The time we see our phones as opportunity, then we now created the ecosystem that delivered it. Look, home ownership is critical for security in any society. Once you go to a society and home ownership rises to about 60%, it's a stable society. People are not going to destroy what they have. So actually, having low home ownership in our country, it's a recipe for long-term crisis. Let me just look at some of the problems. I think it's important to put it in perspective so that we start to look at the solutions in a proper. We've got high population growth and almost uncontrolled urbanization. We've got low disposable incomes. That ties into affordability. There's inadequate housing stock production. There is a debt of long-term finance and mortgages and we don't have a mortgage insurance or guarantee system. The construction cost components are high. Our mortgage finance to GDP ratio is low. There's also a low contribution of, mortgage finance to our GDP. But really, the way to solve our job problems, which is why housing is very critical for us in our country, is through, mass housing. It's not through agriculture. Because efficient agriculture is mechanized agriculture. What 10,000 men will do or women will do in a farm in 10 days, a combined harvester will do in 1 hour. Now, the World Bank, figure for job creation for housing is that if one house creates 5 direct jobs and 2 indirect jobs, but if you talk to people like Professor Nubi, they will escalate the figures because in Nigeria, every mason has a helper. Every person. So the sort of scale for job creation in housing is so huge. There was a study by McKinsey that showed, look, if we just went into creating 2 million houses in Nigeria, you're looking at creating 3 million jobs directly, 24 indirectly, and a 2% rise in GDP. Then you have a great demand for, for cement, for aggregates. These are all things that are local to our economy that will drive our economy. So housing is the key thing that we need to do. But I think the other thing we need to also tell ourselves is that, look, the traditional way of housing, like we've said, will not work. We need to go to an industrial scale housing and create the right ecosystem, that drives that.
Hello, sir. I think we lost him.
I think we lost him there. That must have
been true to network. So we can go ahead with those who are raising their hands.
I'm back.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I'm back. Yeah, I'm very sorry. So I think that, the key point, I don't know where you guys lost me, but I think the key point is that we need to sort of, create an industrial scale of delivering houses, using land rights. Let's not just focus on, that we don't have land. If you build up, there is so much you can create in terms of this and creating jobs for people. So we need to look at land distribution. We need to look at
Okay. Shagun, I think we need to move
Hello,
on now.
sir. Okay. All right. So before we go ahead, I'm going to call those who raised their hand. And I also want to bring to your notice that engineer Mrs. Abiola Koshegbe, she's been putting some information on the group chat as regards the how to reach out to the organization, LASB. Well, you can get all that information on the group chat. She's been giving all information on how to go about it, who you should report what to, and all that. Please just go to the chat that you can get the necessary information. So to go ahead, we call Engineer Shola Sani. Please, for those who are taking live questions, I would like to indulge you maximum of a minute, please.
My apologies, my network kept on going off and on.
1 minute, please. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. I just want to, carry on the basis of the last speaker. The shortage of housing in Nigeria should actually be seen as a great opportunity for us, the professionals. And quite a number of us have looked at this problem, and we are putting us together as to what can be done. And I've just come to introduce something that we came up with, which is more or less just taking off right now. The group is called the Affordable Habitat Group, the Affordable Habitat Group. And what we are doing is looking at the design section, particularly in reducing the cost of construction. And the solution we are bringing to the table is built around a development, a material development by a Nigerian that is based in the US. It's a special polymer that mixes with ordinary laterite that we find around to reduce the cement content of making bricks, and with the use of that polymer, you can reduce the cement content of the bricks to about 5%, which reduces the cost of production of those blocks. And the blocks that are being proposed, the shapes are like the Lego that you have the children play with. So they stack one on top of the other. So you don't really need any mortar, to connect them. It's a very, very efficient system, and the bricks are high strength. And anywhere you go in the country, whatever the nature of the material there, with that polymer and about 5% of cement added, you're able to get sufficient blocks that you can use. And these blocks can be pigmented in different colors, you see? And with that, we use the local material, you create jobs for the people around, the project becomes faster, you drive down the cost. So there are so many benefits that can be derived, from these bricks. And the group decided to actually start with the first plant that has been built in a place, I think it's in Ibadan area. The production has started, and we are just test running the thing. But these are things that will help us in driving down the cost of production. It is something that makes housing affordable and relatively easy, and also creating jobs for the people in the neighborhood. So we believe that as this comes up, for as many as are interested, we have material that can be sent for those who are interested, who can look at it. The present.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
What our advice is, you can put more information on that and just put it on the chat box.
Okay.
And people will get that.
All right, then. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Engineer.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we have Engineer Adedayo Orishatuki.
Hi, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Thanks for bringing me on. Well, I still want to congratulate all the participants, and they've spoken very well. I'm just going to go straight to the point about the sustainability. You know, I think the government needs to come in a lot on this part of sustaining, doing this, helping the people to build sustainable housing. Otherwise, we'll still continue to have this one man, one plot, one house issue. If government comes for help, that probably build like 10-story building as an example to everyone, that's why we can bring in more jobs. But obviously, the government has not really done that, obviously. I'm trying to we have infrastructures in the buildings like lifts because there's no lights. So how can you build a 12-story building when you don't have lifts? How are you going to get there? So at this point, we have these fundamental problems that is still existing, which is the power. And with that, we cannot really move forward past the stage of one plot, one man, one house. And also, I just want to ask questions about the mortgage. As far as I know, I don't know, I stand to be corrected. Do you still, I think the maximum time the bank is giving people to borrow money is about 2 or 3 years. But obviously, if we still stand at that 2 or 3 years, how can people pay back so much money, like 10 million within the 3 years, especially for low income earners? Yeah, I think that's one of the few things we need to be looking into as well. So I think those are my 2 observations on this issue.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So what I will do is I'm going to take the other 3 questions we have. Then I'm going to put it up to any of the panelists to react as required. So we have Engineer Bello or Motosho.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I hope I can be heard clearly.
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Very quickly, I'm not an engineer, really. I just got this notice of a meeting somewhere, and I felt there's need for me to join. I am in Abuja here. Quickly, I think the need for inclusion is very essential. When I mean inclusion, recently I know that Federal Mortgage Bank introduced what you call a rent-to-own. So I just want to indulge the Nigerian Society of Engineers to see how they can partner with Federal Mortgage Bank, such that is the only way I think the issue of raising equity contribution, where civil servants has to go out of their way, either civil servant or some other people who are also in the private sector that who are interested in acquiring rent to own, have to go out of their way to raise that heavy money. When you raise such equity contribution, it becomes a burden paying back the equity within a space of 1 to 2 years, and having to pay back the rent to own money, the property that you just acquired. So in my own little suggestion, I want to suggest that your association needs to really work out a model with Federal Mortgage Bank, because presently I think they are the only one who does that rent to own, but they need to really open it up so that the association can also partner with them. Developer can come in. People who has a means, who are genuinely interested in owning housing, can pick up housing from there. And as soon as you get a job in Nigeria, either in the private or public sector, you have a stable income. You can begin to pay from your earning. It's not that you have to pay after you have paid a very huge amount of money for rent, having to pay to a landlord for a quite number of years before you now think of picking a house. That's just my own contribution. Let us look in direction of rent to own. I think it's a way out of this problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. We have Engineer Bob Achanya. Okay, we can take on Engineer Larry. Engineer Larry Udi. Please go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Nigerian Society of Engineers, the Chairman, Victoria Island Engineer John Audu, FNSC, the panelists, honorable panelists, and all the contributors. And again, also to my senior colleague and boss, Engineer Chidi Zua. I want to quickly speak to the advocacy for high-rise and going upward, like most people will call it. There's been a discussion around the requirement, the need for infrastructural subsidy. And also some people have pointed out that to go up will also mean, from what we see on ground today, that affordability would not be sustained, because a lot of poor people not able to afford, for example, what we have here in Lekki area, the peninsula, or on the mainland. So high-rise then becomes another problem, aside from the issue of infrastructural subsidy, i.e. light of power lifts, and also other means of roads to accessibility to the area. I think it's something we need to consider very, very deeply at this stage in our country, that if we are going upward, can the common man, the people we've defined as the average people, the common man, can they afford high-rise housing as it is today in our society? That's all I wanted to say to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Is Engineer Bob there to take the question, to take his question? Okay. Any of the panelists, I don't know if you have maybe like a closing remark or a response to any question.
Hello?
I am
Hello?
there. I'm on the line.
Okay.
Hello, yes, Bob Achanya is on the line. Architect, please.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I listened very carefully to all that have been said, and I'd like to align myself with the DG of Nigerian Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, Engineer Chidi. I think he has said it all. We need to see housing as a commodity for business. And in doing that, it will be proper for us to actually put up all the economic issues in order for us to properly contextualize and move on. For me, and maybe because of the experience some of us have said, I've gone through, Professor Nubi has also said it all. You cannot continue doing the same old thing at every time and expect to succeed. I think we need to escalate some of these issues now, and then see how we can actually get the private sector into some of these things properly. And I think in this direction, the ICRC through Engineer Chidi will be able to do a proper modeling for us. We can presently try to model these things with, like what the Federal Mortgage Bank is doing. I think they need to go further and then see how they can join forces with Nigerian Society of Engineers, the architects, and all other persons. We have a lot of potentials in this country for the housing sector to succeed, and we do not have any business in this present condition that we are. I think that would be my very little contribution, and I thank the organizers of this program for this timely intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Architect Umar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate this time and everybody's comments. What I just have to say to all the professionals.
I think we lost you there. Sorry about that, sir. Network.
High-rise building. I totally agree with all's going up. But my question is this. These people we are going to give this high-rise building to live, they are low-income earners who are unable to even maintain where they live. A typical example is Baja. Baja is due for urban renewal. Adenija Adele is due for urban renewal. Now, the class of people that live in this place are low-income earners. If we give them high-rise building, how are we able to in these buildings? The one we have in Lagos State, the one that Fashola did, I can't remember the name. For those that is Alegongo. So I totally do not have any problem with high-rise buildings for affordable housing. But my question is, if their circumstance in terms of their earning does not change, we are probably offering them what they still cannot afford. I thank everybody who has attended this program, and I pray that we as professionals will begin to rethink the way we do things and take affordable and take housing as a great opportunity, like Engineer Chidi and other people said. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to take 2 minutes closing remark or a reaction to any comment from each of our panelist discussants. I want to call on Engineer Abiola Koshegbe, FNSC. Okay, maybe she's not presently with her system or something. We can call on Professor Timothy for a 2 minutes closing remark.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, I want to really appreciate this opportunity again and again. The question you have brought up today is key to our survival. I'm in the university here. I've been in the university now since 1987. And we see our students graduating into joblessness. As long as we are not doing things the way it should be done, as long as we are not moving towards mass production, either vertically or horizontally, there is no way professionals could be relevant in this country. And there is going to be continuous housing collapse. So what we are discussing today is key for our sustainability, is key for our country. What those things we discussed today, if we're able to put our ideas together and see the way this nation evolve, we'll begin to see construction accounting for 40 to 30% of the GDP, and we're helping the country. So the country is aware of the role of construction, they are aware in economic development and re-engineering, but they don't know the way out. But we are trying to give them the way out. I want to say that it's not a one-off discourse. We keep on gathering together like this, we keep on discussing. I want to conclude by saying that in the University of Lagos, capacity building is key to all this understanding of every sector. In University of Lagos, we have Center for Housing and Sustainable Development. We started a Masters in Housing program in the last 5 or 6 years. We've been graduating students. And then we could have a broad view, an integrated approach of looking into this thing so that we can push this sector forward for the benefit of every one of us. If we can do mass construction, going up or going vertical or horizontal, we become relevant. This food, this energy, they are addressed right on the drawing board. So land issue becomes resolved. The one area I wanted to discuss that I didn't have time to mention today, which we have to look into, is the need to work on the slum area. The slum in Lagos today account for 70% of the Lagos urban space. This regeneration, these are where we can have this configuration. And I want to conclude by saying, those who are saying affordability and who will live there, when 1004 started, there were civil servants on level 8 and 10 that were living there. The senior civil servants were living in Ikoyi. They are the middle level manpower, level 8, level 9, level 10, that were living in 1004. And they were there with their works, they were there with their younger ones, they were there with their house help. How were they able to live there?
Sir, let's round up.
Have electricity to this time?
Hello, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, sir.
I want to appreciate our efforts again, and God bless us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you. Can we get a closing conclusion from Engineer Koshegbe?
Well, I'm just going to congratulate the VI branch for this program. It's a program definitely for the discussion. Like we said, there are several ways to improve on affordable housing, And engineers just we need to be up to the task, and just try to prefer solutions that can be acceptable for all. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you very much for inviting me here.
Thank you very much, Ma. To conclude this, I'm going to call on Honorable Moruf Akindero Fatai.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I've already indicated that I have to raise. From discussion of the prof, at the instant when he was first talking to us, he mentioned that I avoided data. Yes, I did, because it is I want to be practical. Lagos is suffering from its success. We have people coming in every minute into Lagos to stay in Lagos, and they do not intend to go back. All we are doing is to encourage people that we are not saying you should not come, but be sure that you have where you're going to stay or where we are going to live in. So there's nothing we can do about people coming in, and there's no way we can say specifically. You can only be working with figures. So I try to avoid it so that I do not misguide our people. Then again, in the Ministry of Housing, we are open to new ideas. People are coming in with different ideas on how to have houses at lower cost. Already I told you we have one in Badagry, and that is a bungalow. But we are also looking at going vertical in Ayobo, Ipaja. That's what we are working on now. We also have ideas on 3D technology in building house. Our aim is just twofold: safety and reduction in cost. The issue in when they talk about mortgages, it is simple. Lagos, as we speak, have like 4,000 people on our rent to own, which is a novel idea. Initially, we started at 30%, but we eventually discovered that many people could not really afford this. Then we turned it to 5% of the cost. We work out at 3.3% of your salary, and we pay over the next 10 years. We also discover again that only people with level 14 can afford even a one bed that is sold at 10 million. We are looking at how to make it 15 years. And somebody mentioned issue of building in satellite areas. Already that we have in Ajara, Badagry, we are working on that. We are delivering Odonosa in Epe, 660 units this year. And we are already doing what we call a proposal, just as one of the speakers mentioned the other time, Lagos State Affordable Housing Development Trust Fund. This is an all-embracing thing that we are working upon, and the aim is to see that how we can easily bring down the cost or the mortgage, the cost of houses, the cost of building. I'm talking of the cost of finance, so that we can make it less than 10%. Lagos State is looking at having a trust fund, putting money in that trust fund, while we combine that with what we are having and what we'll be having from the private sector, which is about 14, 18% now, or 19%, 21% now. So that by the time we had these two funds together, we have some fund that will be less than 10%, so that people can really assess that. We are not close to ideas. We are open to new ideas, and we are ready to make sure that we continue to provide more houses. We are not saying it is a closed thing. We are ready to make sure that whatever, and already, we have both internal and external stakeholders. If you bring in a technology, people that have been bringing in technology to us, what we do is that we call our internal stakeholder, physical plan, everybody that is involved. We look at what they are bringing to make sure that it's safe. So if anybody have any technology that want to present to us on the issue of having more houses at low cost and fast and very fast, we are ready to talk to you. So I want to thank the organizer of this symposium, and I appreciate my being here, and I've learned a lot too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Honorable Commissioner. Chairman, sir. Engineer John Audu.
Yes, thank you very much for an excellent facilitation of this workshop. We are honored, especially by Engineer Maruf Akinde Rufatai, for your excellent presentation and expose on this subject. We are also highly honored by all the other participants and panelists. We thank you for your time and for your insightful contributions. Just so you all know, we are obviously going to develop a communique out of all that has come out of this workshop, as is our custom. We will send the communique to the panelists for their review before it is finalized. I believe that we have touched on all the key issues that are required, that require solution so as to resolve the issue of affordable housing and the housing deficit in Nigeria. So if we can put together a very good communique, it indeed would serve to guide the policy makers and also the private sector as well towards resolving this issue that we have on ground. Once again, thank you. We're grateful to you, and we hope that when we call upon you again in the future, you will honor us like this as well. Thank you. Have a nice day. Shagun.
Yes, sir. And I also want you to go ahead with the presentation of certificates.
All right.
Or should we?
I think you should go through that. Oh, Yinda, yeah.
Okay. Engineer Onyida.
Thank you, Engineer Olamoego. Really appreciate all the contributions we have. And on behalf of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, I would like to sincerely thank all our panelists for making themselves available for this symposium and sharing their wealth of knowledge on the housing issues and solutions in Nigeria. And in recognition of this, we are presenting certificates like we have on the screen. And we'll follow this with hard copies that will be forwarded to you. We won't go into detail on all the certificates, but sincere thanks and appreciation are in our hearts to the panelists. And we appreciate your time and wealth of knowledge shared at this symposium. Thank you. Engineer Olamoegu, if you can just take us through a brief slideshow of the certificates.
Okay, ma, I will do that.
Thank you.
So I want to say thank you, everyone, for being a part of this.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your time, your wealth of knowledge, and all that have been said. And to all members of Nigeria Society of Engineers Victoria Island branch, we want to say thank you very much, because without you, this will not be a success. On the 12th of June also, we're going to be having a symposium on small and medium scale enterprise. We want you to join us. The invitation will be sent on the platform for all to be a part of this. Thank you very much once again. Let's continue to remain safe. Do have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.